So in this video, we are going to be covering DHT and DHT, aka dihydrotestosterone. And what it is it is just a more potent form or a stronger form of testosterone. Now, testosterone is the male sex steroid and hormone, and it is responsible for all the masculine traits and characteristics. The traits and characteristics can include the following. As you can see, the masculine traits and characteristics. So the lion mentality is very masculinized. This is because lions have very, very high testosterone. They average 1000 nanograms, which is double the amount of normal humans, probably 10 times the amount of modern day humans. And that's all naturally. Obviously, we don't pump lions with steroids. That's 1000 nanograms on average naturally, which is the maximum and the absolute peak that humans can possibly achieve naturally, give or take a couple hundred. Next, we have a well-known bodybuilder. Can't quite remember his name, but obviously muscles and being lean is a masculine trait and characteristic. Again, these are all caused by testosterone and DHT. We have the strong jawline. We have beard growth. Then we have a stoic, I think that's how you pronounce it. But stoicism is what that image represents. And this is because testosterone and DHT wire your brain in a stoic way. So the fastest way to become stoic is to increase your testosterone, because all the principles that the Stoics preached is a result of high testosterone wiring within the brain. This is because there's receptors in certain brain areas that affect certain things. For example, if you have high testosterone, you're going to have way better self-control, which is obviously a large focus point within Stoicism. Next, we have vascularity. This is but testosterone travels in the blood. So vascularity is very important for testosterone, and high testosterone is going to cause vascularity. Next to it, we have Batman. Thought this was a cool representation of a deep voice, which is what testosterone is going to induce. An example of why this is important is in the animal kingdom, lions, testosterone will cause, or stags, let's go for stags. Testosterone will increase the depth of a male stag's voice, because one, is attractive, so it attracts females, and two, is intimidating against potential threats, enemies, and opponents. Now, back to DHT. So DHT has a longer duration and a stronger expression when it's bound to the androgen receptors. The androgen receptors are I just want you to think of them as a site where DHT or testosterone goes to settle down, attach, and then express the masculinizing effects. That's essentially what they are. And in order for DHT or testosterone to express their masculinizing effects, they have to reach that site of the androgen receptor. One bonus about DHT as well is that it cannot be converted into estrogen, which is the female sex steroid and hormone, whereas testosterone can. The reason this is bad if it can be converted is because the more estrogen we have, the more feminizing effects we're going to have on our body. So this is why with testosterone, men can have up to 1000 nanograms or so naturally, which is very rare, by the way, very uncommon. But with DHT, we usually only have around 80 nanograms, and that's because it's so strong and potent. DHT is produced when testosterone binds with the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. So this is just an enzyme that when testosterone binds with this enzyme, DHT is produced. So when we come to increasing DHT, we want to try and increase that enzyme as well. So, why increase DHT? You can see here I've got a cool little Pokemon reference, Charmander, which is the Pokemon at the top of the page, being testosterone, and then the evolution of Charmander, which is basically just an evolved, upgraded version of Charmander. I believe it's Charizard, is DHT. Now, just to show you why you should increase DHT, this is the transformation that I made myself within a couple of years. So the picture at the top of me looking very, very young, that's from ages ago. So I just wanted to show you that I was skinny. I had no other skinny photos, so that's the only one I had. That's from a long time ago though, but I was very skinny. And then the one in the top right, might be top left for you, is just me about a year ago. And then the bottom three, as you can see, that is me now. Well, I took those photos about a month or two ago, so near enough me now. And yeah, you can see the effects of testosterone and DHT have been very, very good. And the method that I used to do this transformation, is actually called masculinization. And if you want to check out that method, the exact method that I used to do this transformation in a year, which is insane, because what you have to understand is testosterone exerts its effects over a period of time. So the longer you have high testosterone, the more prevalent the testosterone effects are going to become. So it's just a waiting game, really. But yeah, so if you want the exact method that I used to achieve high testosterone, high DHT naturally, in order so that I could create this transformation, then go to the link in my bio, and it will be in this video as well. And you can check out masculinization, which involves the exact method I used to do this. But anyway, back to the video and increasing our DHT. And this is just one of the reasons that you should increase DHT. And as you can see, I put up here, the strength of the effects are dependent on the duration of which you have high DHT. I've had DHT, high DHT, but probably about 3 to 6 months at the most. So if you really want the benefits of testosterone, then DHT is an absolute must for you, because DHT is just going to 10x the strength of those benefits and the speed of which you acquire those benefits, because as we stated in the beginning, it is a much more potent form. So it's very unwise to increase testosterone and ignore DHT when you know about it. Here's an example. Two men, man 1 has 1000 nanograms of testosterone, man 2 has 1000 nanograms of testosterone. Man 1 though has 80 nanograms of DHT, man 2 has 30 nanograms of DHT. Now, what's going to happen there is man 1 is going to look really masculine, he's going to attain all of the masculinizing characteristics and traits, whereas man 2, he's going to have some, but nowhere near as strong and nowhere near as many as man 1, all because of the lack of DHT. This is why a lot of high testosterone guys don't have beards, because they have low DHT. The same reason I didn't have a beard for a long time, because I was only focused on increasing testosterone. However, the last couple of months I've focused on increasing DHT, and I've seen much faster growth. So another reason that high testosterone men can be very muscular but have no other traits that are usually associated with high testosterone, and that's because testosterone has a very strong anabolic effect, which means it significantly impacts muscle building and growth. But DHT has much higher androgen activity, and this is why 6 months ago I was in decent shape, but I had no other high testosterone traits because I never focused on my DHT. So recently I've also noticed confidence and deepening of my voice increase a lot as I've focused on increasing DHT. The confidence and deepening of my voice, that's genuine. I really, really have noticed that, especially in the gym. negative emotion, which is sad, anxiety, all of the negative emotions have decreased massively since I focused on DHT. So DHT seems to have a much more stronger effect on the mental side of things. There was a study conducted where a group of men applied DHT gel for 3 months, and their moods, energy, and confidence significantly increased. And this is now going to explain why, when I was talking about DHT increasing the brain area so much, this is going to explain why that happens. So this is because DHT is strongly linked to higher brain GABA levels, and this promotes the calm relaxation state in any situation. Whereas low brain GABA levels increase anxiety, depression, and insomnia, which is all obviously linked to negative emotion. Signs of low DHT. This is the ultimate question. Do you have low DHT? So low signs of DHT are not seeing strength gains in the gym and or not gaining any muscle mass. If you're in the gym and your progress is slow essentially, then that's a sign of low DHT, as well as a sign of low testosterone. 2, feeling no sexual desire, so low libido. This can also affect sexual performance. 3, having low energy and feeling fatigued. Some more signs are signs of depression and feeling down, confidence being replaced with anxiety, and I would even go as far to say any other negative emotion. If any kind of negative emotion is really strong, then that's a strong sign that you have low DHT. And then thirdly is brain fog. Now, low DHT also indicates low testosterone, as testosterone is the precursor for DHT. So if you have low DHT, the cause could be that you've got low testosterone. Whereas if you had high testosterone, then the cause would be something to do with like the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, not necessarily the testosterone. But it's usually a case of low testosterone if someone has low DHT as well. So how are you going to increase your DHT? There's 3 things that we must focus on to maximize DHT. Number 1, we must keep the testosterone to estrogen conversion low in order to maximize the conversion of testosterone to DHT. We don't want testosterone being stolen to convert into estrogen when we want it to be being converted into DHT. So how are we going to do this? So the conversion of testosterone to estrogen is called aromatase. That's what it's known as. And various studies have shown us that aromatase increases in correlation with the amount of fatty tissue present. So the more fat you are, the higher your aromatase. So the more fat you are, the higher the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. So step 1 is to lean down. The easiest way to do this is to only eat natural foods and aim for at least a 12-hour fast every single day. If you can, do more. I personally do a 16-hour fast every single day, and I only eat natural foods, and that keeps me shredded. I'm getting massive strength progress in the gym whilst also getting leaner. That's a very uncommon pair. So that's the first way we are going to keep aromatase down. So the next way we're going to limit aromatase or decrease aromatase is through aromatase inhibitors. So what are the most practical inhibitors? Number 1 is cruciferous vegetables. This contains 3,3-DIN. I'm not even going to pronounce the word next to it, which has been found to lower aromatase activity. And also black coffee. A study from the Nutritional Journal found that men who consumed caffeinated coffee on a regular basis are more likely to have higher testosterone levels. I have been drinking black coffee for the last 6 months, and I'm assuming that's what's aided in part of my transformation that you saw earlier. A bunch of other inhibitors, those 2 I just mentioned are the ones that I believe to be the most practical. vegetables, black coffee, very, very practical and doable. For the black coffee, if you don't like black coffee, then what you want to do is, let's say you have 1 teaspoon of sugar and you have some milk. You want to slowly reduce the amount of extra things that you're adding to the coffee. So start having half a teaspoon of sugar and milk. And then once you get used to that and you start enjoying that, try take away the sugar and just have it with the milk. Then once you get used to that, decrease the amount of milk you add, half the amount of milk you add. And you just continue with that method until eventually you adapt and you get used to it, and then eventually you'll enjoy the black coffee. So a bunch of other inhibitors, which are the optional ones, they're the less practical ones, I think, personally. White button mushrooms, chamomile tea, cigars, grapes. I actually eat a fuck ton of grapes, so I don't know why I put that in there, but why I put that in the least practical ones. That's probably one of the most practical ones. Then turmeric and black pepper, that's also probably very practical. So there's some other aromatase inhibitors that you can add to prevent the conversion of testosterone into estrogen and therefore increase the conversion of testosterone to DHT. Now, make sure you avoid the following because they're common causes of high aromatase activity: drinking beer, excess body fat, which we basically covered, stress, low physical activity, and high sugar intake. And this is processed sugar, by the way, not natural sugars. So number 2, you want to maximize testosterone because 5 to 10% of your testosterone will be converted into DHT. So if you have, the more testosterone you have, the more that's going to get converted into DHT. Because it's always going to be 5 to 10% of your testosterone that's getting converted to DHT. So yeah, see my YouTube video on testosterone for this, which I will link below. And just a quick basic guide if you don't want to go watch that video. A quick basic guide for you to follow is 1. Eat natural foods and avoid processed foods. 2. Lift weights regularly and optimize sleep. Make sure you're getting at least 7 to 9 hours high quality sleep. This means you're not waking up during sleep. If you're waking up during your sleep, that is very bad. Very, very bad. Number 3 for increasing DHT is obviously you want to maximize DHT production. So the main DHT boosters are creatine, boron, zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D. So I'm now going to explain to you the sources for each of those compounds. Number 1 is zinc, and the best places to get zinc from is beef, especially lamb. I literally just had a plate of 4 lamb chops. Then oysters, chicken, raw cacao products, eggs, more specifically egg yolk. Speaking of that, nah, it's not in it. I was going to show you the dark chocolate bar that I always get. This is actually quite cool because, well, dark chocolate tastes like shit, I'm not going to lie. But if you like dark chocolate, then it's completely healthy and you can eat it. So they're the best sources of zinc. Then we've got magnesium. The best sources are seafood and red meat, dark chocolate, beef, spinach. For vitamin D, we've got fish, eggs, and sun exposure. For creatine, we've got red meat and supplement. So I supplement my creatine. I've a teaspoon of creatine every single day. Just add it to my water bottle for the gym. And yeah, make sure you get the monohydrate creatine because the other creatines, the flavored creatines, have flavorings in them, which is bad for testosterone. Flavored creatine is better than no creatine though. So I would do that over no creatine, but preferably you want the monohydrate creatine, which is unflavored, just plain natural creatine. And just an interesting fact that you may not be aware of is that creatine is literally just a compound that is within red meat. Obviously, because it's in such a little portion within the red meat, it's hard to get a good amount of creatine by just eating red meat. That's why we supplement it. So the next one on the list is boron. The best sources for this are prune juice, avocado, raisins, peaches, apples, grape juice, oranges, bananas, coffee. That's how you're going to maximize DHT production. You're going to ensure that you include those foods in your diet. The main ones, like I said, were red meat, eggs, dark chocolate. They seem to be the primary ones. And then also some fruit. I eat a lot of grapes and a lot of bananas. And then grapes are also an aromatase inhibitor, so they're definitely a one that you should add to your list. Now, next is avoiding 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. You want to ensure you're doing this for obvious reasons. 5-alpha reductase is the enzyme that you need for testosterone to bind to convert to DHT. So the more you have of 5-alpha reductase, the more DHT you can produce. So you want to avoid these: green tea, pumpkin seeds, soybeans, and anything that increases prolactin levels, such as oats, and then physical practices, lastly, to increase DHT. So the secret method for optimal DHT is lift heavy, sprint hard, compete often, and recover well. Recovery, I'm not even going to go into that. We all know that your entire body heals itself, reproduces everything it needs for the next day when you're recovering, when you're sleeping. So you want to optimize that so that you reproduce the optimal amount of hormones, etc. And DHT comes within that list. Lift heavy increases DHT. Many studies have shown this. Sprinting especially increases DHT. Sprinting is one of the ones that I would emphasize the most. Even what you want to start doing is ensuring that you're doing a sprint every single day, even if it's just one 30-second sprint, or two 30-second or a minute sprints. What I currently do is I train, and at the end of all my training sessions, I'll do 5 minutes of running. That will include a sprint. Then I'll go jogging. Then I'll sprint again after that. That might be a bit too much for some people, so I recommend just doing one singular sprint after all of your workouts. And yes, of course, compete often. Competition is very important for testosterone and DHT, because your body knows that the two primary hormones that activate our best abilities is testosterone and DHT. Your body knows that. So when your body perceives competition, perceives that it is in a competitive environment, it will increase those to ensure that you win. It will increase testosterone and DHT production. This is why testosterone is so commonly linked with competition, and DHT also is as well. Make sure to implement all of these. Go back through the video, make sure that you've got the right foods to eat, you've got the right training schedule. That was quite easy to pick up, the training routine that you need to implement, and you ensure that your recovery is on point. If you enjoyed the video or found the video useful, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, left a like, and leave a comment and let me know if you're going to implement any of this into your lifestyle, into your daily routine.